Hi, this is Curious Mystics Podcast, formerly Spiritual Mamas Podcast. Together we explore the mysteries of the spiritual world, sometimes boldly,
Sometimes cautiously.
but always with open hearts
and curious minds.
Let's go. Hello.
Hello.
Welcome back to Curious Mystics Podcast.
Yes, thanks for being here with us.
Yeah, it is a rainy Tuesday morning here.
Mm-hmm. Rainy, a little chilly. What are you going to do? That's New England.
How are you this morning?
I am doing good. I feel much better than I have recently, so that's always a good thing. And yeah, I'm feeling like strangely motivated today, even though it's rainy.
Nice. I like it. If I understand the astrology, which I don't, from what I understand, there's like Taurus is in something, and is like there's a lot of Taurus energy, and like that is supposed to be like really motivating or something. Like there's a lot of movement energy, and so I feel like I've been like go, like in a good way recently. So
yeah, that's still something I'm working on as far as like understanding it all. But we are in Taurus season, and we will be exiting Taurus season this month, actually, in a couple. Well, actually, by the time this episode airs, we will have been past that. But at the time of recording, we are in Taurus season, and in a couple weeks, we'll be moving into Gemini.
So I am on the cusp of Gemini and Taurus, and I have a lot of Taurus in my chart. Like I'm almost all Taurus, but I'm a Gemini sun.
Yeah.
So interesting.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting thing. All right. What are we doing today?
So I'm going to talk a little bit about different types of energy healing modalities, if I can speak today. So today I'm going to talk specifically about external energy healing and sensory energy healing.
Okay.
So
Sounds
buckle up.
good.
Let's see.
I'm buckled. I'm good to go. Got my coffee. We're good to go.
Amazing. I wanted to talk a little bit about the different types of external energy healing. We're going to go through some electromagnetic therapies. We're going to go through some Reiki and Qigong, and then we'll go into some sensory stuff. But when I was doing this research, I didn't know much about electromagnetic therapies, and there is a lot to know. There's a lot of different types of therapy, and they can be used for different things, which I'll talk about, but it was pretty interesting kind of seeing that there's so much out there, and I never hear about it.
Yeah, I'm interested to hear what that means, because I have an idea of two different ideas about that, and so I'm curious to see what the actual definition of these are.
Yeah. So electromagnetic therapy is the use of electromagnetic fields to treat various issues. And the understanding is that our human bodies have their own magnetic frequency on a cellular level, just like the earth does. And we can manipulate that energy to restore balance in ourselves, which promote health.
Okay.
I know that we've talked in previous episodes about vibrations, about frequencies, about how different things have different frequencies. So this is similar to that, except we're talking specifically about the electromagnetic field.
Okay. Of the body.
Of the body, yes. Because the earth has its own electromagnetic field. Yes. Actually, that, I think recently there was some sort of like geomagnetic storm that had to do with Earth's electromagnetic field. And so you were able to see the northern lights further south. I think it was just a couple weeks ago that I was hearing about this, where like as far south as like Georgia in the United States, you were able to see.
Yeah, a few months ago that happened. Did it happen? It happened again, right? It happened twice, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. I missed the second time, but yeah.
Yeah, I missed that one too. But yeah, so this is like when that field gets disrupted in some way, then you can see things change. When you're talking about the Earth's electromagnetic field, you might be noticing that you can see the northern lights in places that you might not normally. When we're talking about our bodies, you may find that you have imbalance. You may find that you have certain diseases coming up. You may find that you have certain changes happening that aren't typical for you. Mm. So you would use electromagnetic therapy clinically when you are needing to treat maybe some things like, and I'm just going to name a couple things, and this is not an end-all be-all. It's not an exhaustive list, and it's also not the only form of therapy for these things, but things like depression, OCD, migraines, physical pain, these might be some issues that come up. Tremors, tics, insomnia, fibromyalgia. We've talked about that before.
Is that the neurobiofeedback? Is that what that is?
So we haven't gone too deep into neurobiofeedback, and that is a different type of therapy. Okay. I'm not sure if it uses the magnetic field, but I'll talk about some other ones that do use the magnetic field. We're going to go through a couple of them now. So TMS, or transcranial magnetic stimulation, is the use of a magnetic coil which is placed on top of the scalp to deliver magnetic pulses which stimulate specific areas of the brain.
Okay.
So it's this giant, if you've ever seen like a hot plate.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
It's basically that, a giant hot plate that is placed right above your head, and it delivers those pulses, which then creates a specific effect.
I'm like imagining like a sci-fi cartoon where it's like, whoom, whoom,
yeah,
like it's like coming down.
That's exactly what it is.
That's what I'm imagining.
When I was doing like the research for this, and I'm seeing the photos and seing some videos, and I was like, that's exactly what it is.
Yep. All right, cool. I got the image.
So, repeated use of TMS, or transcranial magnetic stimulation, is used to help treat things like depression or epilepsy, and deep TMS uses a different type of coil. So there's two types of this, but it's still the same premise. It's just using a different type of coil, and it's used for other things like OCD or smoking cessation.
Okay. Interesting.
In thinking about like from a holistic or spiritual perspective, you wouldn't necessarily go to these. However, I very much believe, and we've talked about this, that all things are connected. So if you're struggling in your physical life, in your medical life, in other areas, in your mental health, and that's impacting you spiritually, then it would make sense to take care of those things to be able to progress in other ways. So just something to keep in mind. Another form of electromagnetic therapy would be pulsed electromagnetic field therapy, or PEMF. And this technique uses current-generated magnetic pulses, which are briefly applied intermittently and can use various frequencies to achieve the desired outcome. So in TMS, you're using one giant coil and you are delivering the magnetic pulses. In PEMF, you're using current-generated. So you're using different electrical currents to generate the pulses for stimulating the magnetic field.
I think I went to a chiropractor who used that. It like went on your body similar to like the electronic stim, but like it wasn't causing like a spasm. Yeah. It was just like a current going through you.
Yeah. Yeah, that would make sense. So this type of electromagnetic therapy is used for like orthopedic pain. It's used for wound healing. So yeah, that would make sense that you might have experienced that in a chiropractic setting.
Okay.
And then a third one, transcutaneous electrical nerve stimulation. So a TENS unit. These are electrodes that are being placed on the skin and create their own electrical field. So they connect with each other to create the electrical field. And that leads to nerve stimulation and muscle contraction. So that's often used for like musculoskeletal pain.
Yeah, you see that a lot, like in physical therapy and ortho, and yeah, I'm sure lots of people have had that one. I've had that one.
Yeah, so those three would be often used for addressing like physical or emotional mental health concerns. And going back to that spiritual perspective, if you're looking to connect more deeply spiritually, if you're looking to progress spiritually, but you notice that you're struggling with depression, if you're struggling with, intrusive thoughts, if you're struggling with, I really want to stop smoking, but I can't stop smoking, you're struggling with physical pain, then maybe addressing some of these could be helpful to get you there, or as a stepping stone anyway. But this last one I'm going to talk about, as far as electromagnetic therapies go, this one is probably one that is less, actually, I don't know how used it is in clinical settings, but it might be more commonly known in non-clinical settings. So this might be something that you use at home in your day-to-day. And it's static magnetic therapy.
Okay.
So with this, you would place magnets in contact with your skin for a period of time. And this might look like magnetized jewelry, which I've seen everywhere. Magnetized mattress pads, shoe inserts that might have specific magnetic charges.
Yeah, I've seen these more recently. Yeah, especially like the mattress pad.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah. So if we're going back to the idea that you could be imbalanced in some way, then using something like this that you have easy access to, that you could use on a daily basis, that you can use at your own pace or leisure or whatever, makes a lot of sense for you to try to rebalance your own magnetic field. Again, these magnetic fields, whether it's the shoe inserts, the mattress pad, the jewelry, anything that you're using, can be stimulated to create and affect the naturally occurring magnetic field, which you can obviously use for growth and healing in yourself. The magnets can affect, or I don't want to say it like it's going to make a huge difference, but it can impact your own energy centers in your body. So we've talked about the chakras and meridians, and this would be a direct way of doing that. When you want to work on your chakras, maybe doing your meditation, maybe doing your affirmations, maybe doing the vibrational work, maybe doing some of this magnetic work could be helpful.
Yeah, I've heard of people using like the magnetic mats during like meditation or whatever, and it just kind of like supposedly amplifies that feeling of relaxation and healing. So
yeah. If when you were talking about the chakras in that episode, you had mentioned, sometimes they might be underactive, sometimes they might be overactive, and if any of that is happening, this might be a way of like sending it a signal like, hey, let's get back on track and get back to where we're supposed to be.
Yep. Cool.
So keeping that in mind, it's not always best to just place a magnet directly on that site. Sometimes, because they're all interconnected, the healing needs to happen from a different place. So if I'm having trouble in my root chakra, maybe I don't want to place it directly on my root chakra. Maybe I want to place it on my sacral, or maybe I want to do a combination. So obviously do the research and figure out what makes the most sense and what's going to work or what's necessary in any specific circumstance.
And as a note, if you have a pacemaker or a defibrillator, do not put magnets on yourself.
Yes.
You will deactivate your pacemaker.
Yes.
So please don't do that. This is not for you. This is not your therapy.
Definitely. And I think that's an important thing to show up here. Like, we're obviously not giving this information as medical advice, but you always want to check with your medical providers. You don't want to be just doing things without knowing how it could impact you, especially if you have other medical things going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll leave it there. I think just talk to your medical providers. Don't just do things without knowing what the effect is. But static magnetic therapy is one way that you could easily access this at home. And definitely the purpose of doing that would be to increase one's life force energy and allow it to flow naturally, when a disease appears in the body, it's due to disruption in one's life force. There's that understanding that we've talked about before. So being able to rebalance yourself, really.
Yeah, just a part of that holistic healing and mind-body connection and getting it all in one, getting it all realigned.
Yeah.
For optimal, what am I trying to say? Like optimal, not use. Like optimal going.
Like optimal functioning. And...
Thank you. Yes.
I didn't know if that's what you were going for. But
I think that's what I was going
for. Yeah, I thought this one was interesting because we talked a little bit about acupuncture last time. And in my experience with auricular acupuncture and acupressure, in the acupressure, you're using beads that are taped on. But if you go online, you can find magnets that you can just stick on to different parts of your body. And the idea is that it applies the same amount of pressure, so it can be used in that way. And then it has the magnet component to it. Again, you want to be doing your own research and finding out, what makes the most sense. But it's another way of accessing something easily when you don't always have the ability to,
Yeah, that'd be interesting. That'd be cool.
Yeah. So outside of electromagnetic therapy, there's also some other external energy components or external energy therapies, I'm going to say modalities that you could use. And two of them that I'm going to talk about together are Reiki and Qigong. I'm talking about them together because there are so many similarities. There are also some differences. But these are both useful in using external energy to help align, to help balance, to help promote growth and healing in a person. Hey friends, we just wanted to take a moment to remind you all that you can interact with us on social media. We can be found at Curious Mystics Podcast on all platforms.
And if you haven't already, please take a moment to like, subscribe, and share so that we can keep showing up for you guys with new weekly episodes and content. Thank you for hanging out with us so far, and stay curious.
So both of these practices, Reiki and Qigong, have survived into the modern times from very ancient practices. They've been used for thousands of years.
Yep.
Both of them refer to life force. So in Reiki, Ki, and Qigong, Qi, at the beginning of that, the Ki and Qi are the same word in different languages.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yes, they are both referring to life force, and both of them are about how to use and manipulate or channel that with your hands.
I know that about Reiki. I did not realize that Qigong was like that. I thought it was more like Tai Chi in that it's like, I don't know, like a movement meditation.
Yeah.
Versus like an energy movement. So I'm interested here.
Tai Chi is a form of Qigong. There are many different forms of it. So Tai Chi is one of them. So it's kind of like a squares and rectangles thing.
Got it.
So yes, you're right on that. Actually, I'll just go into it and we can talk about it. Yeah. So both of these have a very similar approach to life. They both promote compassion, kindness, honoring and releasing emotions, maintaining balance in your life. They both take that very familiar stance on how you live your life. You want to live it with balance. You want to make sure that things are always aligned. And that means not having too much positive, not having too much negative as we think about those in the Western world. This one in particular, I think about often because especially in my work, I talk with people all day about their emotions, and people often think that things like anger or sadness are bad. And I always come back to emotions are not good or bad. inherently. They are just information to let you know how you're receiving the world.
Yeah, I like that.
And that's something that I very much believe, but it's important that we come back to that because we're not taught that, especially in the Western world. We're taught that only happy is good and everything else is bad.
Right. Yeah. No, it's just you processing.
Yeah.
And if you have more than one or the other, then you're out of balance. And that's when you can have like not feeling well.
Yeah. Yeah. And the idea behind emotions in general, at least from the approach that I take, is that they give you this information and you're supposed to give them space. If you're feeling frustrated or upset or sad or angry about a situation, feel that and move through it. Mm-hmm. But it's when you can't move through it that it becomes problematic. Then it becomes overwhelming and then it's uncomfortable or unmanageable.
Yep.
And then both of these, Reiki and Qigong, both help the practitioner of them have reduced stress, reduce anxiety, live a more balanced life just because of the approach that they take. And some of the differences. So Reiki comes from Japanese culture. Mm-hmm. Qigong comes from Chinese culture. Reiki very much emphasizes drawing energy from the universe. It is innate. It is there. It exists. We all have access to it, but we're going to pull it from the universe. Qigong emphasizes drawing energy from within. It is innate. It is there. We all have access to it. It exists, but we're going to draw it from within. Both of these, in Reiki and Qigong, you can access energy from the other. So in Reiki, you can access internal energy. In Qigong, you can access universal energy, but their primary focus is a little bit different in universal or internal energy. Mm-hmm. Qigong focuses more on movement as part of the practice. So that might be like Tai Chi, where you're having that structured movement, you're focusing on breath work, there is a meditative component to it. There are other types of Qigong, so they don't all go that way, but Tai Chi is a type of Qigong. But the idea is that you are manipulating your own energy.
Okay.
And then in Reiki, it's primarily used to heal oneself and others. So the emphasis is on that. You learn it for that. There are levels of Reiki. I believe level 1 is you learn to use it on yourself. How do you heal yourself using universal energy or your own energy?
Yep.
Level 2 would be how to heal others using universal energy or your own energy.
Yep.
And then level 3 is when you can teach others to.
Yeah, the master level.
Yeah, when you can teach others to do it. I don't know if there's more levels than that, but I know those 3 exist.
No, it's just the 3, as far as I know.
Yeah. So you would go into it. You could go into it and just stay a level 1 and only heal yourself. Mm-hmm. But the idea is that you progress and learn how to heal others and share with others, how to teach others. Whereas Qigong is primarily used to heal yourself. It is an individual practice. You can learn it in groups. You could use it on others, but you're really just focusing on your own energy and how to heal yourself. Yeah,
I don't know how you would use it on others. Unless like you like generate the energy while doing the Qigong and then kind of like Reiki it at them.
Yeah.
Like, you know, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think from my understanding, from what I've looked up, and maybe this is because of where you're pulling the life force from, because in Reiki you're using universal life force, it is easier to direct it at others who also have access to it. Whereas in Qigong, you are using your own life force. You wouldn't necessarily want to use your life force to heal someone else.
Yeah. Reiki, you're more like a conduit.
Yeah.
Like you're taking the universal energy or energy from God or wherever you're taking your energy from, and then you like pass it through yourself and then pass it to the person. So I think that's, like you said, you wouldn't necessarily want to use your own energy because then you're going to deplete yourself.
Right. So like I said before, in Qigong you can access universal energy, but it is not the primary focus. So maybe that has something to do with levels. I have no idea if there's different types of levels. I just know there's different types of Qigong. Mm-hmm. So in those respects, you would want to use Reiki or Qigong to manipulate energy. We're not necessarily talking about electromagnetic field, like in the previous section, but just life force energy, which we all have. We've also talked about, I believe it was the episode on the spring equinox. We talked about different ways that that's celebrated around the world, and in some cultures, they focus on creating balance. So you're coming from a cold night into the warmth of spring, and so you want to eat warm foods.
Right.
This would be similar to that. You're focusing on balance, and how do I promote balance in my life?
Mm-hmm. I feel like there's a common theme here.
Yeah.
Across like healing modalities, it's all balance.
I think in some ways it makes too much sense. Like, duh, you are clearly unbalanced in some way and something's not right.
Yeah, like, I mean, it's called disorder and dis-ease.
Yeah.
Because you're unordered. You're out unbalanced and you're uncomfortable. So yeah.
I wish it was so simple, but sometimes we just focus too much on the symptom, and let's alleviate the symptom instead of what do you need to get back in balance.
Exactly.
As far as sensory healing modalities go, this one I think is my favorite.
Okay.
It's my favorite because I do it naturally. And I was doing it naturally before I even knew that that's what I was doing. So,
nice.
Art, dance, and music. Dance, hands down, has been something for me that's always been present. I am not a great dancer. I love to move my body. It is something I do when cooking. It is something I do when cleaning. It is something I do when eating. It is something I do. Like, I just do.
I'm the same. When I'm cooking, got the music on. I'm like, bopping around the kitchen. Like,
Yes, you just get into it. Dance has always been present as a form of spirituality in rituals, in ceremonies, as a way to connect deeper with the divine, with universe, with self. So
it's very present in the shamanic culture. Yeah. Do a lot of dancing.
Yeah. I mean, you can see that in rituals and ceremonies, you may see that it is more structured. There are specific things that you need to do, specific steps and timing and rhythm. And in connecting deeper with yourself or connecting with spirit, it may be something that is a little bit more free-flowing and whatever comes up naturally. So there can definitely be like immense symbolism in the movement of dancing, not just the act of dancing, but how it's performed, how it's received, how it's cultivated. Are there any costumes associated? Are there any choreographic steps? Are there any other things that you involve in the process of dancing? And then in some cultures, dance can be a trance, a meditative trance to deeper connect. And it's, on top of all of that, a somatic form of energy movement and spiritual connection. So I think for all of those reasons, I love it. I love when I am engaging in dance just to engage in dance. I love when I'm engaging in dance specifically to connect more. I love when I'm engaging in dance to express where I'm at.
It just makes me feel good.
Yeah. I didn't even realize that I was like, sometimes I know that I'm doing it, definitely when I'm like cooking or cleaning. But like one day I was eating something and I was excited about it, so I started dancing, and my boyfriend was like, "You're weird. You do that all the time." And I was like, "Do what?" He's
do
like,
what?
That. It's like, oh, okay. I'm happy.
I'm happy. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
I was having this conversation. You're going to talk about music in a second, but I was having this conversation with my husband the other day because I was in the car and I was just, we were on like a road trip-ish type thing. And I was like, I was being goofy. I was dancing. I was like, because there's just some songs that like you have to move to. Like how can you just sit there and not move during some of these songs, Yeah. And I'm just like, dancing. He's just sitting there like cold stone. And I was like, is there like anything Like, do you ever like have a song that you're just like, yes, I gotta like dance to? He's like, no. I was like, really? Like none? Like zero? No. What about like, do you have to sing to them? Like, there's some songs I just have to sing to. No. Like, really? Okay, you just sit there? I don't know how you could just sit there. Like, I have to move. Like, it's almost uncomfortable when I hear certain songs that, like, if I have to just sit there.
Yeah. I mean, I think in addition to like the experience being moving in that moment, it's moving me to dance or to sing or to whatever, there is that connection with self. Like, how more present can you be than to connect with yourself in a way to know, like, hey, I need to move my body in this way in this moment.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I was surprised.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, what do you mean you don't dance?
You don't move? Like,
ever?
That's
crazy.
Weird.
Yeah. But yeah, so obviously dance is something that you can do with or without music. Most often you think about it with music, but I know that like if I'm doing it while I'm eating, typically there's no music involved and I'm just like moving, but music is another component to that. Music is very clearly connected to spirituality, religion, and as a form of energy healing. It can be used to specifically speak to the soul.
Absolutely. I mean, this one is like very much something that I connect with 100%. Like, there are songs that elicit such emotion or such feeling, and they could be healing. It could make me sad. It could make me angry, but like angry to get out anger. Like, I actually have like a playlist that's called Angry.
Yeah.
Because when I'm angry, I listen to this and it like pumps me up. So then I'm like, get all my anger out, like, and then I'm like done, I'm like done being angry because I listened to like my angry one, So it's, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I cannot understand people that, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be mean, but like, I can't understand like not connecting with music and it not eliciting feelings in some way.
Yeah.
It just, almost all music makes me, or I don't listen to it really if I'm not like having some sort of emotion from it.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I think there's like, today we might look at it more like, what's the vibe? What's the mood? What's the atmosphere saying? And so how can I connect with that in the sense of music? But at all points in time, especially if you're already experiencing a deep emotion, a heavy or explosive or powerful emotion, how do you express that? And oftentimes I talk to people about listening to music that conveys your current state. If I'm sad, am I going to listen to sad music because that helps me to express it in a way that I can't otherwise? When you're talking about anger and listening to an angry playlist, it can be a way to express what you can't express otherwise. And for some people, that's I really feel like, especially with anger, because it's such an explosive emotion, I really feel like breaking something. I really feel like causing damage. I really feel like hurt. And that's not necessarily safe or healthy. So let me find a way to express myself in a way that is safe and healthy. And if I'm screaming to this soundtrack, that is safe and healthy and allows me to express myself.
Yeah, I used to listen to it on the treadmill a lot. So like it would just get me like super pumped and like super like get through this workout on the treadmill, and then I'd be like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah,
I feel better now.
Yeah. The thing with music, though, is that the opposite can also be true. I'm feeling really sad and I don't want to feel sad. Let me listen to a happy playlist.
Right, yeah.
And let me get myself out of this state. If I can connect with the happy playlist, then I can create some distance between myself and the sadness.
Yeah. It's so powerful.
Yeah, definitely. When we think about it as a form of connection, for myself, what I always turn to is gospel music. Meditative music, sounds or frequencies that resonate with certain aspects of existence or experience or am I using certain sounds that have certain frequencies that connect with my chakras? Am I looking to connect in a spiritual way and listening to gospel music? Am I looking to engage in meditation and I really need like an appropriate meditative sound that can help me connect?
Yeah, lock in. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there's definitely connecting in that way. And of course, music is one of those things that has been studied extensively. So there's plenty of studies that show that music can activate most parts of the brain at the same time, which leads to higher functioning or allows for higher functioning and can lead to easier access to downloads or having more downloads. So music is one of those things, one of the very few things that has been scientifically shown to be beneficial in so many ways and also has that authentic spiritual connection to it as well.
Mm-hmm. I think because you could actually see sound waves and then you could see how the brain reacts. Like, so you could see both those things.
Yeah.
Like it's you can actually physically see it. So I think it's easier to study. Mm-hmm. Plus it's such like a universal thing that people have feelings when they're listening to music, that I think that people are like, oh, why does everybody act this way? Why do I feel this way? Whereas I don't think like some things, not everybody feels some of these spiritual changes whenever they have something else like Reiki. They may not feel that. I don't know how they couldn't, but but they might not feel it. And so it's kind of like less of a universal Western experience.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think we've talked before about like science in particular and how great it is and also how limiting it can be. And some of these experiences, especially when we're talking about spirituality, are, in my opinion, they're not any less significant because you don't have scientific evidence.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Your observation is scientific evidence. It's just not one that you can, clearly find metrics for and document in a specific type of way. But it still counts.
Oh, yeah.
So music just happens to be one of those things that falls into both categories in the science and the experience of it. And then, of course, there's art. So just being creative and art in general, art can be a very diverse field for energy healing. It works best when combining the art with the intentional act of moving energy for healing. And so this could be moving energy like we talked about before with something like Qigong, or something that might be a little bit different, like I am intentionally putting my experience, thought, emotion, sensations into this art form, whether I'm painting it or I'm sculpting it or I'm creating it in some other way. Just trying to like find ways to combine that, the art of art and energy movement. I did read an article where the author mentioned the significance of mandalas, and in spirituality, we know that they have a very significant significance as a form of meditation, reflection, an opportunity for growth. They take a lot of dedication, a lot of work, a lot of focus, but can also be very meditative and allow you to connect deeper. So creating your own mandala as an energetic and intuitive practice can be a great way to engage in energy healing and also be a form of art. So that's just one of the things that I was thinking of as far as like how to combine those things together.
I wonder if sacred geometry goes under art or if it's something else. I just recently know about it.
Yeah.
I actually want to do an episode about it. But,
yeah.
Yeah.
I would love for that to be an episode. I don't know much about it, but I've heard of it a couple times.
So my tattoo artist, that's kind of like his specialty, is sacred geometry. He loves doing that. And so he kind of he's talked to me about it before while he was doing tattooing. And I do have a little bit of that on me. But so I'm very interested to find out more about that. But it's interesting.
Yeah, I would imagine that at least in some aspects it falls under this like art energy healing, but I'm sure that in other ways it might be a little bit different too. So
yeah, I'm not quite sure the whole ins and outs, but
yeah. So overall, energy healing can have so many different aspects to it. There could be different ways to access it. There can be different ways, different reasons, or different source points to use it from. So I think just opening up to that and maybe practicing some of these, maybe looking into some of these. For myself, on a regular basis, I'm probably using something like dance a little bit more, but it probably would be a good idea to incorporate some of these other ones every once in a while to do some energy healing in different ways, to connect a little bit deeper and to grow more.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely would say probably music for me. But yeah, definitely want to try to do more of the other things as well.
Yeah.
And you know me, I'm a big proponent of Reiki. So I think everybody should experience Reiki at least once in their life.
I agree. Yeah, so these are just some options. All of the sources will be in the show notes so that you can do a little bit more information, research, and see if there's one that speaks to you a little bit more, or if it leads you down a path of connecting with it in some way.
Yeah, and let us know what your favorite is.
And I think we're going to do maybe this will be something that's ongoing in different ways. We'll do some other... I don't know if there'll be full episodes or just information about energy healing. And I mean, it's something that for me, I probably think about on a daily basis. Like at the very basic level, how can I clear my energy today and recall my energy today?
Right.
But on a bigger level, how can I maintain it and how can I heal it if it needs to be, if it's out of balance in some way? So I'm sure that it'll come up again.
Yeah, it's because it's so important, that that balance in that and how energy affects us. And in the spiritual world, it's so, because I think we're connected to it more. We're connected to the energy, to the earth's energy, to the spirit energy and stuff like that it's something that we use more on a regular basis because we are connected to it. So learning how to do that and what we're actually doing when we're doing it is important.
Yeah. So that's it. That's all I got today.
All right. Well, it was awesome. Very informative. So, all right. Well, per usual, please like us, subscribe to us, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.